the work breakdown structure, WBS. I remember using this very widely in my previous roles in some of my organizations that I worked with about 15, 20 years ago. Still, I remember the Excel spreadsheets that we used to create in terms of the whole thing, how we can actually break it down into the specifics. So we used to actually have this kind of a bottom-up estimation. So we're talking about the work actually being done by the team, and the estimates also done by the team. So this is one of the bottom-up type of estimation methodologies, very popular, very widely used by a lot of development teams in about 15, 20, or even 12 years ago. And I think even still now it's used in some contexts of the user story points as well. So you actually talk about the detailing of the decomposition. So the decomposition of the product, you're trying to break the whole product and the complexity down into individual units. And that could actually be driven in terms of the modules or the features. You could actually try and do that. Like, for example, we were talking about the modules. We say you've got, in the context of the e-commerce website, the catalog of products itself could be one module. The administration or the CMS where you can use to upload or change the details of these products or items could be another module. A third module could be the shopping cart. A fourth module could be the payment processing. A fifth one could be, for example, the order processing. And the sixth one could be about communication, the notifications of emails and stuff like that. So you actually see that each of these could actually be broken down further into these separate modules based on the functionality. And then you can also try and break it down in terms of the components or interfaces, in terms of the architecture. For example, you can say that the payment processing could actually have an interface with a third-party provider, service provider, for example, WorldPay or Digital Pay or something like that, which actually does your processing of the payments on your behalf. So you don't have to store all the PCI-related credit card information. So what you need to do is to now look at interfacing with the third-party providers. What kind of interfaces do we have? Do they have any kind of APIs that they exposed? And what kind of APIs do we need to actually invoke to achieve some certain functionality? How can we do the get set kind of methods? So all of these, technically speaking, you can try and work on these when you talk about the components and interfaces. And then you can also look at the processes, the procedures. If it is involved kind of a workflow, you can actually try and look at all the processes involved. What are the kind of workflows? What steps are at each stage? What are the breakdown scenarios and things like that? So again, you're trying to decompose. You're trying to actually break everything down into the details. So you're not really looking at the very high 30,000 feet overview. You're actually getting down. You're actually parasailing. You're using a parachute from that particular height to drop in and land on the ground. As you get to the ground, you're getting better and better view of the ground. If you look from that height, obviously everything looks hazy, everything looks tiny. So as you parasail and as you actually get down to with the parachute on the ground, you get better and better picture in terms of what is on the ground and a clearer picture. So exactly the same way you're talking about the work breakdown structure, giving you that kind of a clarity, that kind of a detailed view and understanding of what each of these parts are. And that's where we break it down to activities, tasks. So some of the examples of work breakdown structures could be the story point estimation, the planning poker, in the context of agile, as we discussed, very, very relevant. And we're going to discuss these in detail in the coming slides anyway, so you get a clear idea there. And then function points obviously is another measure that I have been working on before, very, very popular. Again, the first and foremost thing is you arrive at the size. Size is important. First, look at the size of how big, small, or medium it is. From there on, you look at what is the kind of effort involved, how much productivity you can apply, and thereon you can actually arrive finally at the other aspects of schedule, and then finally the cost. So this is the order. So don't forget that. Whenever you talk about estimation, people jump into cost. Tell me how much time it would take. Tell me how much it would cost. These are good questions to ask, but you can't just start off there. You need to actually start somewhere else, and that is the size. Yeah, unless you understand the size of a particular piece of work, you cannot estimate how much time it would take, what is the kind of effort involved, and how much time and what's the cost involved. So in this context, what you do with the function points is, there are a lot of tools that were available. In fact, we were using Excel spreadsheets to come up with this. And then there was later Cosmic FP is a tool again, which is kind of automated, which would give you the different views, the forms, and different kind of list views, and where you can enter details. And as you enter, it would actually give you the kind of numbers and finally the figures. So how you typically work about in the FP is, it's important just to know in terms of how function point works. As it says function, so it's about functionality. It's not the technical aspects of it. It's not the technology. It's not the database underlying or anything like that. But what you try and look at is the actual functionality that you can achieve or implement with that. So that's what we refer in the context of user experience or product development as CRUD. So that's CRUD, that is, either you can create something, or you can read or review something, you can update or modify or edit, and you can delete that.